Hey, what's going on, guys? Had a thought, so I want to shoot a quick video because if I don't shoot this video right now, I'm going to forget about everything that I was just thinking about. So in the abundance of caution, I'm going to make sure that I go and park this car and shoot the rest of this video so that you guys can hear what's been bugging me. Not necessarily bugging me, but something that on my mind that I think is a great acquisition strategy that most people just discount, or they think it's too small, it doesn't make any difference. And when people talk about acquisitions, they're typically talking about, your $1 to $10 million deals, which is normally what I talk about. But today I want to kind of talk through something I call micro acquisitions. Okay, so here's a good parking spot. Let's jump right over here. All right, come with me. All right, so micro acquisitions is a little bit different than your typical $1 to $2, $5, $10 million deal, right? And so the reason why I think most people discount it is because they think that it's just not going to cash flow enough for them, right? Let me put this right over here so we can have a discussion. All right. Sorry for that rough intro. Let me take this a little up. And there we go. Okay. All right. So I was literally driving and then came up with this idea that kind of hit me in the head. And I'm like, I got to throw this video out because otherwise it's not going to get out. So micro acquisitions. So when people think of acquisitions, they typically think about your typical $1 to $10 million deal. And those are great because you can do one acquisition and you can literally change your financial future. Okay, so it's something that has tangible effects right away. If you buy a $3 million business that should have SDE of around $700K to about $1 million after debt service, after everything, if it already has a management team, you're still walking away at that point with $300,000, $400,000 plus dollars in cash flow. Okay, and so that makes a huge difference. Day one, you buy that business and you have that much cash flow coming in. If you had another job, you don't need it anymore, and you could walk away, right? So that's cool. But micro acquisitions, the way I think about it, is doing deals that are sub $100,000, and I mean even sub $25,000. And there's one industry specifically that I think people just totally sleep on. They don't think about it, and I don't blame them because it's not sexy, and they think of it as something that's kind of like spam. And that is newsletters. Now, newsletters are 100% one of the most valuable types of content revenue you can put out there. What do I mean by content revenue? So I have a bunch of platforms, right? I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, X, and out of all those platforms, I make sales through all of them, LinkedIn as well. But my newsletter, in terms of the cost to do what I do on my newsletter and the revenue it brings in, is by far the most valuable audience I have. Now, people typically think of the newsletter as an additional type of marketing tool that they could utilize for their business to generate more leads, right? So if I have 1,000 customers, I have their emails, why not just tell them about new products? And that's one way of utilizing kind of a very company business focused newsletter. But I want you guys to start thinking about them as bigger than that, bigger than just reaching out to your same customers, but in terms of literally being the top of funnel for your product or service, okay? So newsletters, their value is way, way underappreciated in my book when it comes to the value that you can get. And I'm talking now about micro acquisition. So I'm not talking about starting a newsletter from scratch. I'm talking about acquiring one. You can go on sites like lettertrader.com. Full transparency, I'm a part owner of lettertrader.com. But lettertrader.com is the best site out there. Tell me if I'm wrong, put it down in the comments. But go on lettertrader.com. And on there, you're going to see a bunch of newsletters for sale, anywhere from a couple $1,000 to $100,000 or more. And you can buy, for instance, a financial newsletter that may have 20,000 subscribers. It might be doing about $1,000 a month from one sponsor that it has. and they have, but has a great open rate, maybe of 35-40%, a click-through rate of over 2%, and it really hasn't monetized outside of one sponsor. Now, with that acquisition, let's say right now, and I don't know if this is actually on the site, you can go check it out to see, but you can go on that site right now, and let's say you find that, and that would sell for, let's just put it at, they're trying to sell for $35,000, $40,000 for that type of newsletter. Now, with that audience, a 25,000 subscriber, 20,000 subscriber financial newsletter audience, 35% open rate, 2% click-through rate, right then and there, you can bring on multiple sponsors. And let's say you do 2 editions a week. You can bring on multiple sponsors and take that $1,000 in revenue per month that it's getting from the one sponsor, and you can easily change that into $20,000 to $30,000 a month in revenue just from sponsorships. Okay? So I want that to think in. You bought this thing for $35K, and literally within a couple months, you can bring on sponsors to where you're bringing in almost on a monthly basis what you paid for it. Okay? Now, a newsletter that's doing $30,000 plus a month in revenue, typically, depending on how much you're doing your ad spend for, your margins are well over 50%. You're probably well over 70%. That newsletter can sell for multiple 6 figures. Right? We're talking this newsletter is probably selling for more than $250,000, maybe even more. You bought it for $35K. You go out there, you find the right sponsors, especially for financial newsletters. They'll pay up to $6 per subscriber, per active subscriber. And you bought that newsletter, let's say at that price, for just over $1.50 per subscriber. And so right now we're going to be playing the arbitrage between you bought the subscriber for $1.50, you're selling it at $6 per subscriber. And so that's without even growing it. Let's say you don't do any ads to grow it. You just take its current audience, you make sure the content's good, you bring on some sponsors who then jump in and sponsor each edition, and you do 2 editions a week. And that's only with doing 2 editions a week. You can decide to actually do more than that and do more revenue. But I'm just trying to, again, throw some numbers out there to get some of the brain cells rubbing together and see how powerful this could be. So you can acquire a newsletter, $35K, 6 months later, with sponsorships and everything else like that. You're now bringing in about $20, $30K a month in revenue. By the end of the year, that newsletter is now worth multiple 6 figures. You can decide to sell, you walk away, you've made multiple 6 figures in a single year. You've made probably anywhere from a 5 to 10x on what you bought the newsletter for. Okay? So this is something that there's very few people, and you can check it on YouTube, go out there, search around. There's very few people talking about flipping newsletters or just acquiring them and building them for cash flow. Now, that's only with bringing sponsorships on in the one I just talked about. What you can also do is outside of sponsorships, you can go and make a digital product. So if it's a financial newsletter, you can, whatever, let's say it's talking about stocks or options or insurance or whatever, what have you. Whatever the topic is, you can go out there and make a digital product for that particular type of product, right? So if it's a financial newsletter, you do a financial digital course. It could be a PDF. It could be just a couple different bonuses, what have you. On top of that, you can then, if that works out well, if there's an appetite for buying those products, then you can work that into a more of a higher ticket offering, right? So now you're talking more communities. You're talking more maybe advisory, consulting, coaching, all from that $35,000 newsletter that you bought. So all of this to say, micro acquisitions, especially in the newsletter niche. Now, there's other ones I'm doing right now. I just bought an iOS app a couple months ago. It wasn't a micro acquisition because it was a larger app. Now, it was about a $500,000 deal. But so that's not what I'm talking about today. But it's not just newsletters. You can do this in. You can do it with other apps that are sub $10,000. You could do this with even YouTube channels, things like that. But I really like newsletters because it's scalable. It's something that is very straightforward in scaling. Direct newsletter ads from Meta, direct to subscriber. And there's a whole ecosystem out there of sponsors that want to be placed inside of your newsletter. And so this is one of the things that we're talking about inside of Kingdom Builders, the group that I've mentioned on the previous videos. One of the things that we talk about is these types of strategies. How do we go and implement that right now? I'm doing this right now. And I'm talking about how I'm doing it, how it's going, what does it look like, how did I find the deal, how did I structure the deal, and how am I now building it out and scaling it for the eventual exit that I want to have. So this is something to throw out there. I think this is one of the most slept on niches. This is one of the ones that a lot of our members inside of the Kingdom Builders group right now that are super excited about, and they're asking a lot of questions about it. And a lot of our members are now going out and trying to do this themselves, which is great. I mean, it's such a wide open market. There's very few people doing this and very few people that are doing it well. And I just think it's one of those things that once you hear it, you can't unhear it, and you need to go out there and need to at least check it out and see if it's right for you. So I wanted to throw this quick video out there. A lot of these videos are going to be very informal. As you know, I was right in my car coming out here when I decided to shoot this video. So take this with what you will, and there'll be more content coming. And if you're interested at all in what we're doing inside the group and really diving into these strategies, there'll be a way for you to check that out as well. Have an awesome day. Talk to you later.